drawing proposal. And I appreciate these brothers, and I appreciate these men, and all the hours that they have spent on putting this together, and all those that have worked and served on this to help make this happen. But I wanted to say that. I appreciate the labor of love that they've done for the Lord. Appreciate you.
We'll get things set up here real shortly. Cecil mentioned the fact that Satan's going to work against us. Our technology is working against us, or Satan is working against us, one or the other. We're going to get things set up here as quick as we can.
Put this on the other side.
If you hear anything rattling up here, it's just my knees. Don't worry about it.
All right.
We're almost there, maybe. While we're waiting for this to come up, all those that are on the building committee, I want you to stand. All those on the building committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Josh is in here. These are the individuals that's made this possible. And I wanted you to know who they were. All right? Okay. All right, so our intent this morning, our goal of this presentation is to simply provide you an overview of the new facility from a concept design standpoint, at a very high level where we set financially in order to achieve this great goal. I've heard ever since I've been a part of the church of how that there's been a need for a fellowship hall. And that's our intent today, is to show you what our progress has been. So with that said, when we started this whole thing out, we used this verse from Proverbs 24 and 27, which said, "Prepare thy work without, and make it fit for thyself in the field, and afterwards build thine house." Solomon was a wise man. He said, you don't go build the house without plans. It's essentially what he's saying. In my workplace, I don't go build or design another CT scanner without having some plans behind it, without having the finances behind it. And that's what this is all about. So where we start today, our committee has done the research and the planning. We've come up with a conceptual design of what we believe that should be. There's been some capital campaign we can throw under there, the individual giving. And let me say, we are so truly thankful for those who have given and are continuing to give. And we'll see where we set with that in just a moment. With that said, this is a slide we've shown in the past. If we're going to, Stephen Anderson in the book Preparing to Build had this quote: "To truly be successful, the church must ensure that it is God's vision and timing that is to be accomplished and not their own." That is something that I've tried to use and instruct and help in our committee meetings time and time again. This isn't about what Jim Boggs wants. This isn't about what Cecil Farmer wants. This is about what is the vision and mission of the Liberty Free Will Baptist Church, and not what we want, but what we need. There's a huge difference. I want a new car. I don't need a new car, right? So with that said, then it's our job as the committee to ensure that the needs of the church are met within what this land allows us to do. What's the feasibility we have to build here? And on top of that, then, what is the financial ability of our church? I can say I want a new car and I'm going to spend $50,000, but if I don't have $50,000, I'm not buying that new car. Plain and simple. So we can't take this lightly. We must give and take in each of these areas to find the balance. And that's what our goal is. We want to find the right balance that's within what covers our needs, within our financial ability, and what the land, our property, allows us to do. Cecil has alluded to this in his message this morning. We set out when we went in this as a committee saying we need to understand what our mission is and what our vision is. Anything we do, no matter what ministry we do, no matter what we build on this land, has to meet the mission statements of the church, and it has to be within our vision. Cecil sat down several months ago, and I helped him orchestrate this, and this is what we've come up with Cecil's direction and the direction of our Savior, our God. Our mission statement is simply to reach, to teach, and to keep. As that, we exist as a group, as the Liberty Free Will Baptist Church, to fulfill the Great Commission by seeking and winning the lost, by discipling the saved, by edifying the saints, being a beacon to our community, extending hope to all people through Jesus Christ in love. If we look at that, then our vision is simply to grow, to add, and to serve. And you can already see through this that we have several ministries that we have. We have our men's ministries, our ladies' ministries, our Sunday school, our kids' church, our Good News Club, the All-In Youth Ministries. These are all ministries of the Liberty Free Will Baptist Church that are seeking out that vision that we have to grow. So to be a growing church, adding ministries, and serving our people and our community. That is our vision. So with that, we need to reach. Let us reach, let us teach, with a vision to grow and serve. We set out to, as we said earlier, to come up with what we thought was the facility needs. The book that I mentioned before, Preparing to Build, that author makes a statement in there that has stuck with me to the extent that I've actually done some other research behind the statement. The number one basic fact in church growth: a church will not grow in number, that is average attendance, to grow anywhere past that 80 to 90 percentile of what the sanctuary will hold. We can look around us even today and we can see we have empty pews. We have room for growth. Just an observation that I've done over the last few months is that comfortably, I think that this auditorium would hold 210 to 220 comfortably. You get much more of that, you're shoulder to shoulder, and people don't like to be shoulder to shoulder in today's society. Unless you're lovebirds like these two back there. Those over here. But we say all that to say we've done our research and come up with what we believe we need. We've done that through taking your input through surveys. We've done that by taking your input through our focus groups. We've done that direct one-on-one discussions with each other. We've done that as a committee by looking at other church facilities. We've done that as a committee by just general observations and services from day-to-day operations in our own church. So these are what we believe we need. We need a larger assembly area, that fellowship hall. We need that larger activity area. That fellowship hall assembly area can serve the same purpose. We need a warming kitchen. We need areas for food service. We have needs for Sunday school growth and for youth. So we said we need a youth activity room. We need junior church area. Goes without saying, we need restrooms. Yeah? Goes without saying that when we're here on Sunday morning in Sunday school and Matt's sitting here teaching and the bell rings and that foyer is packed with people, we need a larger foyer area.
Or they come and fly.
Yeah. We need additional parking space. So with all that said, I'm going to have Scott come up. Let him be the one to bring the grand finale here of seeing what is planned as a concept first of all. Scott has used his expertise, his talents. He's hiding for the past year or longer, and he's come up with this concept that is, in my opinion, an all-in concept, meaning it satisfies all these needs we've talked about. So with that, are we excited to see the first presentation of the new building? As we'd see on TV, that'll be after the break. No. Scott?
So that clap was almost as loud as the one for the bathrooms. We know what everybody really wants here is some more bathrooms. Was looking back, when we went through the surveys and stuff with the different groups that use the church for youth and ladies and all that stuff, one of the things we do not have a place in this church to have any event that's very big at all. You know, for Christmas dinner, we have to go to Norton Community Center, which is great. They let us use that. Any big youth events, we have no place for kids to do anything. Every time we have a big event, we have to go somewhere else or hope for good weather. I mean, we have VBS is one thing that if we would have a rainy week for VBS, it would be a catastrophe in here, I think. Trying to do all that we do outside, somewhere inside. Only thing we have is a canopy or a carport to do things if it's raining. So this is a big need, and for our church, I think, to grow, and the youth ministry we have is growing. You saw the kids up here for all the Veterans Day and the Christmas play. I mean, there is a lot of kids. A lot of times they're in the back. When they are all out here, I think that 80% is probably getting pretty close, but we need a place for those kids to have something to do. And I would rather see kids come to church to do things than have to go other places. So, said I wouldn't get nervous, but I'm getting ready. You want me to push the button so we can see what the building looks like? Go down. Okay. That addition is pretty much close to double the size of our existing church. Our existing church is like a little over 6,000 square feet. This new addition is about 10,000 square feet. As you can see where the existing church ends, that whole bigger, taller part, that's a new building that encompasses large assembly space for dinners, for games, for volleyball, for whatever activities we have to go to other churches to do right now. All of our youth rallies that we have, we go to another church that has a facility that kids can do things. I mean, some people might think games aren't important, but getting kids involved and around Christian people is important. So tell you a little bit about what's in the building. This is kind of what it would look like. The existing church proposed addition is just a couple of views we have here. Like I can't face that way and talk this way. The parking lot on the left here is something we can do possibly in the future if we need to add more parking, and it'd be nice sometimes to have another entrance or exit from the church out onto the road. This is a general floor plan. I don't have a pointer, but the whole right half where the bathrooms and kitchen and stuff are all the new added parts. Show the basketball court. At the bottom right part is a potential stage area that we can have for if we have a play or a movie or like our Christmas plays. It's hard to do. We've done it for many years up here, and you hear curtain shuts and you hear clunking and thumping around, and all of a sudden the scene's different. We've managed, but it would be nice to have a little bit more space for that. So, fellowship hall, as you can see, is on the right, big area. That'll give us space to have dinners. You guys can read what's up there. Like I mentioned before, vacation Bible school events. We have concerts. Sometimes we have a group here or something. The place is packed. It'd be nice to have a little bit more room. So for those large events like that, or even revivals, if they get big enough, we can hold the revival in the new addition. Fun space for sporting and kids activities, and adults if they want to get involved in some sporting events, they can do that too. Receptions, wedding receptions, funerals, all kinds of things that there may be larger space needed for gathering. Warming kitchen and serving area, we did talk about with a lot of the ladies about whether that kitchen area was going to be a full kitchen where you can actually cook everything. We determined that what we need is pretty much a warming kitchen. A lot of our dinners we have, people are bringing food, we need to keep it warm. The code requires a lot of extra things if you're going to have a full kitchen. A commercial hood, those are very expensive, and we didn't think that we really needed that. Now, maybe in the future that could be added, but at this point it's warming. We still have an oven, still have microwaves. The kitchen is 3 times bigger than our existing kitchen, which I'm sure that would be very helpful. We designed it, if the plan goes like this, so that we could have 2-sided serving on the counter. They can go through the kitchen and get food from both sides. And we thought if we do have anything that we're gonna need to cook, greasy things or hamburgers and hot dogs, we just have possibly a nicer grill area outside and do those things outside. You can bring a deep fryer and just do it outside. So those things can happen, just not legally inside the warming kitchen. Let's see what's next here. Youth Sunday school rooms. Take them out here. So on the left side where it says junior church, that's like part of our existing junior church, or our back area right now on the left. So it'd be one larger Sunday school room if one of the classes needed more space. That's one bigger room. Right adjacent to that is a warming kitchen, and then entry, the foyer, that would be another covered canopy drop-off area in the back, similar to what we have here, not quite as big, but where you can pull under and let people off, carry things in without getting wet. And then just to the right of the foyer, we have a large youth activity room that could be used for many things. Like right now, they're practicing for Christmas play practice. That room would be big enough to practice better and maybe have a small stage, and things can go on back there. They almost have their own church service in the back when we're having our church out here. So that would give room for that. And above this whole area, from the warming kitchen over to the youth activity room, above that is just an open mezzanine above the gym. So it's another big area that is, for now, it's planned just for have things up there to do, maybe some games for kids. Or in the future, if we need more Sunday school rooms, maybe part of that mezzanine space could be turned into Sunday school space. Restrooms, that's what everybody applauded about earlier. So handicap accessible, which right now we only have one handicap accessible bathroom. It's in the nursery. So we're planning adding men's and women's larger bathrooms with at least 3 stalls in each bathroom, which will be very beneficial for between services and when we have events. We have homecoming, there's a lineup in the bathroom between homecoming and 2 o'clock service. So I think everybody's in agreement that we definitely need that. See everybody saying yes. Larger foyer space, this was just a thought too. If we have extra rooms in the back, we may move the nursery to one of the rooms toward the back, turn part of the nursery into a foyer, enlarged foyer area, and then possibly a sound room, right? It's difficult to control sound when you're trying to adjust things back there, but you're not out here hearing what everybody else is hearing. So we may take a couple feet of that nursery and create a little sound room in the back. That's just a thought, and that part we can probably do on our own with our talent like Lance and this company. We might be able to do that portion on our own. And I'll let Jim talk about land feasibility things, or you want me to do that? We looked at, like Jim said, we looked at where possibly we could put this building on our property. Originally, a couple years ago, we looked at putting in the back by where the volleyball courts and garage, but after talking to other churches, it's not good to have the building disconnected from the church. It's just harder. You got kids, back there and adults here, and you don't really know what's going on. When you go from service to, you have to walk across the parking lot if it's snowy or rainy, or it's just harder. And the building doesn't get used as much if it were connected. So that limited us to where can we put it. We looked at putting it directly off the other side of our carport, which would be nice. We could pull in and just go to the back side of the building, and walking across would have just been through a covered area. But our septic system is back there, and we don't have room, the depth, to add the building and not affect our septic system, which replacing that with new is quite a bit of money. We think that the added load and stuff for the new building will pass EPA for the amount of water and stuff that we actually use at the church, that we can just do a few upgrades to the septic system and make it compliant with today's codes. That's still not 100% guaranteed, but we're praying for that. So the only place it left to add is on the end of our building, which we have just enough room before our driveway to add that. I think it looks nice with the building and kind of ties it all together. Out in front of the building, I forgot, go back up here. If the nursery is going to be in the back, we thought about possibly having a small play area for kids that's kind of fenced in and secure. That would be right off the nursery area. And also if we're having dinners or picnics right off the gymnasium or the dinner area, people could step outside and have some picnic tables, and maybe that's where the grills would be if we had a grill out. So I think that would help us, and also people driving by the church say, hey, they have a really nice, what the community sees is a big impact on them. If you see a church that's just run down and not well maintained, I think Buddy does a good job at keeping our property looking nice. People look at that, at least I do. I see that, hey, those people they take pride in their church, keep it nice. So that's a couple things we thought we could do outside. Not this giant playground, but just things for the kids to do, so they're not banging on the windows in the back of the sanctuary during church. Let's see, land feasibility. We have room to add more parking. I think that's something we'll do as we need. First place we would probably add parking is right like behind the basketball hoop out there, between that and the garage. We could add 10 to 12 parking spaces there. Could be gravel at first, and if it's needed, we can pave it. Second was if we extend this driveway up this side, so we have it in and an out side of the church. I'll let Jim do the hard part now. I got to do the fun part, showing you the building. Does anybody have any questions real quick on the building? Yeah, parking, we can always change the handicap, but we have several out there now that I think is adequate, but we can always make more if we need it. Any questions? Excited? Yeah. Okay. I'll turn it back over to Jim to see how we can make this happen.
Okay. So as Scott said, I get the part that's the hard part. The reality is, though, anything is possible with our God. Anything is. So when I present the number, we can look at it as the glass being half full or half empty. It's our perspective. The perspective I'm going to choose is that anything is possible with our God.
So currently, Scott's done a lot of work working with different companies, different contractors, and come up with the initial estimate of the current concept that you saw at $1.34 million. You may say that's way too much. You may say that's just right. You may say that's not enough. I'm not going to tell you that's not enough. But anything is possible. So with that, then, the real goal today isn't to make a decision on this by any means, but at least to show you with that estimate where we currently sit. Cecil's made this comment before that with the last few years of how well God has blessed our church. I can tell you from firsthand experience, and probably some of the other ministers who have traveled within our conference preaching at other churches, we are the exception in this area today. We are in good shape. We are in excellent shape. If I look at our current funds today, what this little chart is just simply showing is in green, our current total balance is $715,805. That's of the 28th this week. And Ryan told me, I think he told me there was another 11,000 to be deposited yet after he gave me those numbers. God is blessing through each and every one of you. So you say, then what is possible? We mentioned that people have been giving, and we're so thankful for those who have been giving. Our current designated funds to the building is $157,719. That's where it currently sits. I'm assuming, Ryan could tell me if I'm wrong, there's probably some more to be deposited there yet. So when we looked at this and said, where do we go from here? For 157,000 designated funds, what could we potentially do? So the thought is, could we potentially redistribute some of the undesignated money, meaning that it's money that was given through tithes and offering that wasn't given for a specific purpose by the giver. They gave it to the church to be used wisely by the church. So if we took the checking and savings account and just brought them back down essentially to a 6-month of expenses based off of our 2023 budget, that would put us at 90,000, a little over 90,000, almost 90,500 into those main checking and savings account that is our normal day-to-day operations of the church. And if we took that other funds then and put them that were undesignated and slate them for the building, then we're looking at a total of $625,000 available for the building, which is what we're saying here when we talk about redistributing. Where does that put us? That puts us at almost 50% there already. I don't think there's a church around us, certainly in my own experience, that I can say has a building program that they're currently active in and have almost 50% of their funds available. One input we got was that was unheard of. That individual said, what are you waiting for? Start building now. So that leaves us with a gap, essentially, of the $714,000. So we're almost 50%. We said it was $1.34 million. We're halfway there, so it's a half and half. What can we do with that then? Well, certainly no church wants to put up a facility from a financial standpoint that you cannot afford to operate. Wouldn't make any sense, would it? Would it make any sense to put up a building, but then after I built up that building, I don't have the funds to even operate the facility with? So we looked at it from that proposal and said, okay, with our 2023 budget, which is on the left-hand side, this is what we budgeted back in, when did we do our budget? January, February, March, April? March, April. That we were projecting a total income for the year $226,950, and with our projections, if we stayed on budget, we would have a surplus this year of nearly $46,000. We said, okay, what if we take that then, and if we were operating the new facility? we would say our utilities are going to at least double. Scott said that we're actually adding almost, so the current, with the new facility, our total square feet would be almost 3 times what we have, but certainly I hope that the new construction, the new furnaces, the new air conditioners, et cetera, are going to be a lot more efficient than what we have in this facility. So we estimated we'd double our utilities. We're going to have extra water. Scott mentioned in land feasibility. We will be forced to tie into the city water because of the sprinkler system. We have no choice. We have to do that. That's part of the facility. We take all that, and that brings our utility bills then from around $13,900 per year up to $29,000, a little over. We said that there has to be some sort of modest increase, at least in staffing each year. And then we said something we've never done in our budgets. Should we consider in our budgets actually putting so much to savings? Any personal financial person is going to tell you from a personal financial standpoint, you should be putting 10% of your income in savings. We're saying we're going to take a modest approach. If we put this in the budget for next year, it would be 3%. With all that said, essentially, we're still at a bottom line then of almost $26,000 over and above what we need to operate the facility. So then we say, okay, where do we go from there? And this is not written in stone. This is just to give you a view of a proposal should we decide to finance. So again, current levels will support, and that's assuming no mortgage. So let's talk about it if we had to finance and we had to do a mortgage. If we looked at it and said with a capital campaign goal of half, we need 715, let's split it in half, make it 360,000, that's actually 720,000 in total, assuming mortgages, there's going to be closing costs, et cetera, up on top of that. So if we looked at it from that perspective and compare it to our 2023 budget, assuming a 15-year mortgage, we would have a shortfall. Let me go back. You can see the shortfall then with a mortgage is $20,000 a year, nearly, on a shortfall. What does that look like, though, in perspective? We know that our intent of putting a facility in isn't for our church to remain dormant. The intent is to grow. With growth comes financial growth. I'll say this again, one more statement about the financing, or the finances of this facility or our church. Those financial numbers are proof to me that we, each one of you as individuals, are at a state in your spiritual condition with God that is proper. Financial indicator will say that. A church that is struggling financially needs to consider where they are spiritually. We're in a good position financially, spiritually. So what's another perspective on that then? If we looked at it and said we wanted to break even, then we would be looking at needing another $380 per week in our giving. Our current budget for this 2023 is $3,480. That's what we budgeted as weekly giving. We would need an additional $380 per week to break even then with a new facility. We take it one step further and say God leads people to continue to give to perhaps that mortgage, then we have a weekly increase that would actually cover the mortgage. That's the $878 per week increase. That would cover the mortgage and put us back into that surplus area at the end of the year. So what do we need? We need somewhere in between. If we were going to finance, that's where we would be. We would need somewhere in between the 380 and this 878 number per week in additional giving. That's what it would take, assuming those numbers. Now, when we get further along and we get into the actual get hard estimates or hard quotes and things are going to vary one way or the other. We understand that. We realize that. But I hope that we can see through this, as we said earlier, All things are possible with our God. I believe we as a church are in a position where that we can do this. It's not out of reach. So, if we went the financing route, this is what you're looking at for a total all-in cost. So we said the estimate was at $1.34 million. If you finance, by the time you pay all the interest rates, et cetera, and closing costs, the estimate right now would be at $1.9 million. Interest rates are fluctuating, usually up. Don't expect them to come down. Depending on how much you finance, you get into areas, and when you get into the details, is it going to be required to be a commercial loan? If it's a commercial loan, the interest rates are usually 2 to 3% higher than what you're going to see on a home mortgage. When I calculated these numbers, I'll just be straight up front, I used a flat 8% interest because of a organization, part of the National Free Baptist organization that does loans. That's where I got that number from. Could fluctuate back and forth, all right? So with that, then, what is our next steps? The very next step is number one. We can't go any further, in my mind, without prayerful consideration of this concept. Does it meet our needs? Is it God's timing to pursue this concept? Can we, as each individual, can we support this in our prayers? Can we be committed to this program in prayer and finances? And we're not looking for those answers today. What we're asking for today is that we as a body carefully consider this in prayer. From that then, if we feel as a church body it is the right thing to be doing, then we will move forward and have a church vote on this to move forward. From that then, we'll look at finalizing the concept design, getting church approval on that concept, the final concept. Capital campaign doesn't have to wait. In fact, we've already talked, we're going to try to kick off capital campaigns officially at the first of the year, get some input back from you as a church body at the first of the year as to whether this is the right thing, wrong thing, are there things we missed, are there things we need to change? And I'm sure there's a lot of questions in everybody's minds right now. We'll answer those questions the best we can. If you want to stay now, my thought is start writing those questions down, present them to anyone on our committee, me, Scott, whomever, and we'll start getting answers. If we don't have the answers, we're going to get those answers. This is actually the basic 7 steps that we set out at the beginning. These are the next steps. So with that, before we close then, anybody got any questions hot on their mind right now? Obviously we want you to take this and think about it, pray about it, pray about what God would have you commit to as we move forward with this. Any thoughts? Yes.
The Lord blesses the project, and maybe from year to year, as the church gets above where they need to be, here we could pay it off sooner.
Yes, absolutely. There's nothing that says.
However, the Lord wants, year by year.
Right. There's nothing that says that if we decide to finance that it's not that we're going to sit there, at least my perception is we wouldn't sit there and just say, okay, in 15 years the mortgage is gone. We do everything we can to take year by year and get that done. You know, the first question that comes in my mind when I look at something like this is if we do that, we tie ourselves up in a mortgage, what do we do when we outgrow this section? You outgrow the sanctuary, what are you going to do? Build a new sanctuary. All right? Knock the walls down, whatever. So I personally think that the concept supports the future we have when we look at needing to add on to this facility, add a new sanctuary, whether we tear this one down, build a new one, where we add to this one, where we leave this here, and we do another sanctuary, whatever, we have a facility over here that'll house us while that's being done. So I think my perception is that this is what we need to consider, okay? So what I suggest is that we take this in prayerful consideration. I'm going to get with the committee here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to set some dates in January where we'll come back and ask for your input and any other questions that you may have between now and then. We'll get those answers. Take this as in prayerful consideration. We'll come back in January and ask, is this the right thing to move forward with? Anybody else has any thoughts? Anybody from the committee have anything that they want to add? Here we grow. These will close, but Scott reminded me if some of our committee can help pass these out. We should have enough, at least one per family. If we need more, we'll get more. But that is a copy of what you saw presented today. Okay?
While they're passing this out, I want to give these guys a hand. Jim and Scott both have spent countless hours. I can't even begin to imagine of their own time. And it's a labor of love. And I think we ought to, I know they're going to kill me for this, but it's appreciated very much, Brother Mike, and the whole committee. But these guys especially, many, many hours. So I'd like for us to stand and give these guys. Amen. Please pray about it. It's exciting. We praise the Lord for it, and we're trusting God's going to bless us, and it'll become a reality. Amen. So let's just keep praying about it. It's exciting, and for with God, nothing shall be impossible. Amen. All right? All right. We're going to be dismissed. Come back tonight, 6 o'clock, and pray for the service. All right? We want to make sure everybody get one.